It's here, finally. Update 0.7.5, and you know what that means? That means we finally get our US Cruiser split. A split many of us have been waiting for since closed beta testing. Yes, it had been rumored that long ago that there was going to be a US Cruiser split. And now it's here, and I cannot be more happy. And the reason why is that Wargaming knocked this out of the park. Wargaming has done the USN Cruiser line right. And I really think this is going to make the USN Cruisers relevant in a way that they haven't been in the past. So I'm going to go over real quick both of the lines, the heavy cruisers and the light cruisers. And I'm going to tell you which one you should strive for. Now, first, I understand that many of you have been playing this game for a very, very long time. The USN Cruiser line was one of the original trees, so it's highly possible that a long time ago, you already researched up and down this line. After all, you probably heard the Des Moines was one of the best ships in the game, and you wanted that ship, right? Well, maybe you never played USN Cruisers. Maybe in the very beginning you heard that the Cleveland was nerfed, it was moved around, and the line just didn't have much to offer. You heard people lamenting about how bad the grind of the Pensacola and the New Orleans was, and you just didn't want to mess with it. You just didn't want to. The line sat dormant for you. Now's the time to get back into it, now's the time to play the USN Cruiser line. Once and for all, get it out of the way. But there's a catch. These lines are very, very distinct from each other. Obviously, you have the heavy cruiser line and the light cruiser line. They split at the Tier 5 Omaha. So on the heavy cruiser line, you've got the Pensacola at Tier 6, New Orleans at 7, Baltimore at 8, Buffalo at 9, and capping things off, the Des Moines, or as I like to affectionately call, the Desi. On the light cruiser size at Tier 6, you have the Dallas, followed by Helena at 7, Cleveland at 8, Seattle at 9, and at Tier 10, the Worcester, which many of you have probably heard by now is the American version of the Minotaur. Not quite though, not quite. Which of these lines do you strive to complete if you have never completed the USN Cruiser line, or if you're looking to get back into it because you want the Buffalo or another ship? Alright, well I'm gonna lay down some facts right here. First, if you consider yourself an average player, I would strive for the USN Heavy Cruiser line. I would strive for the USN Heavy Cruiser line because it's a little more forgiving than the light cruiser line is going to be. And again, if you don't have the Des Moines yet, this ship is a must-have ship. Now, both these lines are going to give you phenomenal anti-aircraft capability. They're going to give you defensive fire and all that good stuff. Your high-tier cruisers are all going to have radar, which if you're going after destroyers, you're absolutely going to slaughter them once you pop that radar. But the differences with these two ship lines are in the armor. And it's obvious. It really is. Heavy cruiser, light cruiser. Heavy cruiser, light cruiser. Heavy cruiser, heavier armor. Light cruiser, lighter armor. So again, if you consider yourself more of an average player, I would strive to complete the heavy line. It's going to give you a little more protection. It's going to give you the ability to tank a little bit more than the light cruisers are going to allow you to. The other nice thing about the heavy cruiser line is the guns on these ships can absolutely punish other cruisers, and they can even punish battleships. Starting at Tier 6 with the Pensacola, Pensacola retains its awesome guns. So you've got that former mid-high tier AP down at Tier 6. The Pensacola can punish ships. Same with the New Orleans. Baltimore gets tweaked a little bit, moved down to Tier 8, keeps all of the best traits of the Baltimore at Tier 9. If you liked Baltimore at Tier 9, you're going to love it at Tier 8. Buffalo, which comes in as a slightly improved Baltimore. Again, heavy hitting guns. And finally at Tier 10, you've got the Des Moines. Now, the downside to the heavy cruiser line is the reload is a little bit slower than you're going to find on the light cruiser line, with the exception of the Des Moines, which you can get down to right about 4 seconds on the reload. That's just a shade slower than the Worcester is going to be. But again, the Des Moines hits hard, and plus you've got a little bit of that tankiness as well. Something that you're not going to find in the other line. So if you're that average player, or you're not too confident in your cruiser playing abilities and you want to try the USN Cruiser line after this rework, I would go the heavy cruiser route and do not split off and do the light cruiser path until you get a little more well versed in these USN heavy cruisers. The reason why, the light cruisers, they can be challenging. If you consider yourself a good player to a great player, you're probably going to like this line. If you're one of those almost Unicum, super Unicum players, then you're probably going to like the light cruiser line for the USN cruisers. Starting with the Helena, which is probably one of the most comfortable ships in the entire USN line. And even if you don't consider yourself a good player and you just want to test the waters with the light cruiser line, you can probably make it up to tier 7 in the Helena and call it quits and enjoy it. The Helena is just an enjoyable ship regardless of skill. It really is. However, after the Helena, things get a little tough. At tier 8, the Cleveland is still a hard ship to master. It's got rolls, it can take on destroyers, it's got great anti-aircraft capabilities, but light armor very much plays like the old tier 6 Cleveland, which isn't necessarily a good thing when you're going up against tier 10 ships. Seattle, tier 9, followed by the Worcester at 10. Again, the Worcester had a lot of fun in the ship. It's a good ship. It is very similar in many ways to the Minotaur. However, it needs a little finesse. It needs a little skill. It really needs a division mate. If you don't have someone smoking you up, you're kind of in trouble because this ship is dependent on concealment. All of these light cruisers are. So if you're not good at masking yourself behind terrain, firing over terrain, you're instantly going to struggle with this light cruiser line. I said Wargaming knocked this out of the park, and I still stand by what I'm saying, but the light cruiser line takes a firmer hand. It takes a slightly better player than the heavy cruiser line does. So that is a basic overview of both lines. You've got the more comfortable heavy cruisers that are good for all players, and then you've got the more challenging light cruiser line, which you can still do very, very good things in with their fast, rapid firing guns. If you are an Atlanta lover, if you love the Atlanta, you will love the light cruiser split. These ships play very similar to the Atlanta. They require you to be methodical. Your range isn't quite as far. Your guns don't hit quite as hard. You need concealment, but you can be an unrelenting annoyance to the enemy, especially battleships. And the Worcester, if you are holed up well, no ship is going to be able to escape your guns. They won't be able to hide behind land. They just can't get away from them, and you're going to peg them repeatedly and set them on fire. So there you have it. Got some great missions coming out too to supplement this split. Hit it hard, hit fast. We'll go over that at another point, but right now I just wanted to give you all an overview of these two very different lines within the USN Cruiser tech tree. They play very differently and require very different play styles. But if you can master either one of them, you're going to do perfectly fine, and I hope you do. I really hope you like this split. I enjoyed it a lot in testing, and I know I'm going to continue to enjoy it. Wargaming just got this right. They did the USN Cruisers proud. These ships finally fit in with the rest of the cruisers. They finally have some oomph to them, and I really think they have finally become viable. Anyhow, guys, I want to hear what you think when you finally get to playing these ships. I want to know if you enjoy them, which line you like most, whether you like the heavies or the lights. Also, I want to know what your favorite ship is within these lines. Let me know in the future. Stay in touch. Guys, thanks for watching. I will catch you all later. I am out.